Monday. Red Polly.
Dusty.
Blue Poncho.
Tupac.
Street.
Hey, Wilson Hoosier. Hey, Elvis.
Blue 58. Go.
All right, everyone. Welcome to Health Matters, Episode 6, Week 2 recap. Take it away, Brandon. Here we go.
Okay, Doc, let's start off with the injury roundup this week. Give us the latest on Aaron Rodgers.
Well, Aaron Rodgers underwent surgery out in Los Angeles by Dr. Neil ElAttrache. And what's interesting about his surgery is he actually had a pretty cutting-edge type of technique. A company called Arthrex helped develop what was called a speed bridge, or actually a double row suture repair. Bottom line, what this is 4 anchors into the calcaneus, or your heel bone, which is where the Achilles attaches. Now, that Achilles tendon can tear off anywhere above that heel bone, and usually it's anywhere from 2 to 6 centimeters above the heel bone or the calcaneus. But what you do is you stitch in with these super high-strength sutures and do what's called a speed bridge to really mat it down and really compress it. Now, of course, he's talking, as well as others are talking, about him coming back at the end of the season. I don't think it's unheard of. It's certainly an outside chance, but we will stay tuned.
Okay, you think he'll make it back with that age, being in the 40s?
I don't know, 39 and Achilles tear. I mean, and getting back to the NFL, it's certainly not getting back to pickleball, where we see a ton of new Achilles injuries these days. But it's an outside chance with this rehab and the strength of repair and the ability to get back pretty quickly. But the reality is it's a lot of mobility, a lot of strength. So we'll stand by.
Yeah, he's a great player. We're going to pull for that recovery for sure. Tyler, what else you got?
Yeah, Brandon. Well, if Aaron Rodgers was the week 1 star to get hurt, week 2 has to be Saquon Barkley. Went down this Sunday with an ankle sprain, had the MRI. They are saying it's not a high ankle, but indeed an ankle sprain, a low ankle sprain, as we call it. Looking to be out around 3 games. Now, Doc, I know you know the history of Saquon. You've talked about him a lot with Fox Sports. What do you think of this injury? What's it going to look like when he returns? And is 3 games a realistic time to be out for this?
Yeah, so the good news, apparently an MRI did not show high ankle sprain, did not show knee injury. Of course, everyone was worried about having not only just knee, but also the ankle is the main issue, and certainly something in that lower extremity. But good news that this is probably a lower type of ankle sprain, or something that doesn't involve the 2 bones, or the syndesmosis, as we say, in the ankle joint. So this is good news for Saquon overall. Now, what's interesting, when you look at 2021, he had an ankle sprain and he missed 4 games plus the bye week. In 2020 season, week 2, remember, he had the ACL tear on week 2 and missed the entire rest of the season, came back 2021, and then missed another 4 games after week 5. Also 2019, week 3 had a high ankle sprain and was out 3 games. 2018, he had a pretty clean year. So we'll see how it goes, but the rate of re-injury and just his overall load that the Giants have used him for is a lot, Tyler. I mean, they've used him a lot, and I think that his injuries are additive and also recurring.
Yeah, he's definitely been the primary workhorse for that team in the past. So hopefully he can rehab through this and get back on the field.
Yeah, I think it's going to be 3. I think it'll be 3 games. That's our stats will show, from the predictors, that on average, a player in his position, he knows how to rehab. It is about 3 games, and he's already done that. He's missed either 3 games or 4 games prior. So I would expect him to miss 3.5 games. We'll see how this is, and have him rehab. Now, what's interesting, when he comes back, he's down 10 to 15% the first 2 games. 3rd game back, based on our data, he's going to be back to his baseline.
Something to think about for fantasy owners for sure. In other injuries, David Montgomery of the Detroit Lions went down with a thigh contusion, and he's supposed to be out now a couple of weeks. He has said to let this heal, something that definitely could hurt Detroit. They took their first loss of the season this past Sunday after looking so good against Kansas City in week 1. Other injuries, Chase Edmonds has a grade 2 MCL sprain. Doc, we talked about this on one of the last podcasts. MCLs, they're a tough injury sometimes for running backs to return from. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, no question, Tyler. The amount of cutting required from the knee and the ability for that knee to be stable and trusted and just have not a lot of pain. It has to be stable enough as well. And there's a lot of players in the NFL that still have residual MCL strains, but they don't hurt. A lot of us have MCL injuries that give a little laxity in the knee, but the running back needs that knee to be stable and functional enough so that they can get back. So it's going to be several weeks, I think, hoping that it's a lesser grade MCL sprain. We've seen people be out for 6 to 8 weeks or just 1 to 2 weeks. I think this one is kind of in the middle.
Yeah, the team right now is saying 4 to 6, so we'll see how he progresses through that. And obviously, as you know, it's a grade 2 based on severity. That's probably on average, like you were saying, but hopefully he can rehab a little bit quicker. But we're looking at definitely at least around a month, most likely. Eagles' Avonte Maddox had surgery on his torn pectoral muscle from week 1. Doc, now, as a shoulder surgeon, you've fixed a lot of these. Cornerback, secondary in the NFL, obviously very important. Thoughts?
Yeah, the pec is really important for pressing, for grabbing, for wrapping. Certainly defensive back, that's what you do. It's a part of your player profile. And when you look at this injury, the good news is the pec after surgery heals extremely well. And so I think we'll see very little performance decline overall at the end of the day once this is all fixed.
That's good news for Eagles fans for sure. However, unfortunately, he's going to be out for most of, if not all of the season due to this surgery. Well, Ravens fans had to hold their breath. Odell Beckham Jr. out with an ankle injury. Looks like the team is now saying that it's minor. He's managing it and should be back this coming week. However, we all know Odell has a long list of injury history. So people were definitely worried, but hopefully for fans in Baltimore, he should be back this week. But you'll have to watch the practice injury reports throughout the week to make sure that he's progressing. And finally, Joe Burrow of the Cincinnati Bengals, star QB, said he re-injured his calf. Now, Doc, I know we were talking. Seems like maybe it was still injured even prior to this game. However, he came out and said that he re-injured it during this game. What do you think about the calf? How is this going to affect his performance?
Yeah, I was worried about his performance from week 1. Remember he got carted off in practice, and these are injuries where you really strain that medial head of the gastroc, or the inner part of your calf muscle. It's called the gastrocnemius, gastroc for short. That thing can be strained, and it's on the inner side, and it's really important for the ability for the foot to be able to work and the knee to be able to work well. So I'm a little worried about this, that he's re-aggravated. I'm not sure he was even ready in week 1 to return. We're certainly seeing that now. We saw the performance week 1 was not great. The whole team wasn't great. And now week 2, we're seeing it again. And so this re-aggravation is real, and I think it's going to be multiple weeks until we see Joe Burrow back. And I think it's going to be 4 to 6 weeks now that he's got a re-aggravation.
Oh, wow. That's a long timeline. We'll definitely have to keep track of this story and send out updates on all the Predictors social media accounts. Now, Brandon, I know there was a few concussions this week. What do you have for us there?
Yeah, first we have Devontae Adams with a little scare. He was evaluated for concussion, but they're saying he's all good. So fantasy owners, watch the practice report this week and make sure you're ready for the lineup going into Sunday. Jalen Waddle, the Miami Dolphins wide receiver, he's listed in the concussion protocol after last night's game. So hopefully he can make a quick return. Logan Thomas, the tight end for the Commanders, took a really big helmet-to-helmet hit. No fines on the play yet, but there probably will be one coming out. He's going to be in the concussion protocol this week. Ryan Kelly, the center for the Colts, he also is in the concussion protocol. And lastly, rookie Anthony Richardson, the Colts quarterback, he had a concussion, left the game early, even though he was playing well. And that's kind of going to be a big thing for them. They're starting quarterback and center out. How's that going to affect the play, Doc?
Yeah, Brandon, so starting center and quarterback both out for concussion is pretty unique situation in the NFL. We kind of looked that up to see exactly how many times that was, and we really didn't have much data on it. Of course, the center being one that can go out, the quarterback can be one that can go out, obviously individually, and we see that quite a bit. But that unit being out, obviously they're going to have to train up a new unit and get the offensive line on the communication side is super important. But on average, we see folks like this out about 1.3 to 1.6 games overall. And what's interesting on the concussion data, and then we've shown this, is you actually come back even better and you perform better, especially in the quarterback position, after you get some mental rest and get that brain better after the concussion.
Yeah, the rookie was playing well, so hopefully he can come back and keep the Colts momentum moving forward. You know, in the AFC, the injury report breakdown this week, Ryan, tell us about what the AFC is doing besides the Colts.
The AFC was all over the injury report this week. We had only 6 teams in the top half of the bus rankings. Meanwhile, 10 teams in the AFC made up the bottom half of the bus rankings. So the AFC is very banged up. And teams we've been looking at mostly, I mean, we have our normal culprits. You have the Chiefs and the Bills, who both had a shaky week 1, but they came back week 2, really pulled it back together and came out with good wins on the day. And then we have our Los Angeles Chargers, who Austin Eckler and Joey Bosa are both been hurt and dealing with injuries, and they're starting the season off not too hot. They're 0-2 to start the season. They just lost yesterday to the Tennessee Titans, 27-24, and right into Tennessee. They're pretty healthy right now. They looked much better this week, and they are one of the top teams in the AFC that we really are keeping our eyes on as long as they can stay healthy.
Yeah, Tyler, what do you think on that? How do you like that analysis?
Yeah, it's good. I mean, when you look at the Chargers, it's interesting. Last year, they were decently healthy until they had some stuff with Mike Williams, but they ended up in the playoffs this year, starting off 0-2. You already have Eckler on that injury report and one of their lead defenders. Starting off 0-2, it's not a good look for them, to be honest. Not something you want. We do know, and we could talk a little bit about this with the Ravens, but we do know that teams that are injured earlier in the season can sometimes come together as a team and actually produce and do better throughout the season. It's harder for teams who lose someone big on their team or a big star impact player midway through the season. So if there's any light on that for the Chargers, that would be it. But definitely not something they wanted to start. But honestly, after this week with Saquon and Vontae and a couple of the other guys going down, the AFC may be in the healthier section week 3, but week 2, they definitely were the more unhealthy conference going into it.
Yeah, seeing the NFC at the top before the week, now they're going into the bottom. They did have some big stuff. You know, what's your analysis on the NFC this week, Tyler?
Well, just like the AFC was 6 in the top half and 10 in the bottom, the NFC was, of course, then the opposite of that. So they had 10 teams in the top half and 6 in the bottom. So it is split. It's close to half and half, but not quite there. Teams to watch in the NFC, though, are the 49ers. Last year, they were in the bottom 5 for much of the season, especially with the quarterback injuries they had and a few other things going on. The bottom 5 of those bus rankings, and they still did unbelievably well, losing in that conference game to the Eagles. But if they can stay healthy, that team is definitely a team you want to watch for the Super Bowl, because if they were able to do that last year with the health issues they had, then this year they are off to a much better start. The Ravens, we talked about it last time. This team seems to be in health issues every single year, but they still somehow find a way to make the playoff slot. And week 2, they showed some parts of brilliance there again. You know, week 1, they struggle, but then week 2, they come back and Lamar Jackson has a great game and they end up beating Cincinnati. So it's hard with the Ravens. They're one of those teams that showed us that early season injuries you can get over, but you need depth, and like they do at that running back position, and they have that again this year with the J.K. Dobbins injury, but having their depth at running back could help them.
Yeah, definitely. Detroit's looking good. I'm still high on them, even though they had a little trouble yesterday. They have a great roster, and they're looking good week 1 and week 2, you know, but Losing that running back, David Montgomery, may hurt him. Hopefully Jamar Gibbs, the rookie, can step up, get some carries, and be a player for him as well. The week 2 games are pretty exciting. Which game surprised you the most?
Well, I think for me, it was that Bucks Chicago game. Everyone had such high hopes for Justin Fields. He's in year 3 here, but he just didn't seem to have that pocket presence that you expect from a quarterback going into their 3rd year. He ran into a couple sacks. I think he had 6 sacks total. He ended up having a really, really tough game, even though Moore got a little bit into the game, a little bit more productivity out of him. They still struggled. Justin Fields, 2 interceptions, 6 sacks, QBR of 23. And then you have Baker Mayfield going for 317 yards. I don't think anyone expected that. They've had some injuries at wide receiver, but Mike Evans stepped up and had 171 yards, and the Bucks are 2-0. And I don't think anyone thought that was going to be the start of their season. So they're riding the high wave right now.
Yeah, I like the Bucks. I'm a Baker fan, so let's see them be successful. All right, let's break down some fantasy news this week, guys. I think there was a bunch of surprises this week, a lot of high performance and big scoring. Tyler, who was your fantasy surprise from week 2?
Yeah, Brandon, I think the Rams had a fantastic week, and running back for them, Kyron Williams ended up with 28 points over that 49ers defense, 52 rushing yards and a touchdown, 48 receiving yards and a touchdown. I would not have expected that going into week 2, but came out and was ready to play.
Yeah, the Rams, they had some players all over. They had Puka Nakau, the rookie wide receiver. He's no fluke. He had 30 points, back-to-back weeks with some high scoring, 147 yards, 15 receptions. He may be a good replacement for Cooper Kupp while he's out. What do you think?
Yeah, he has been a great replacement for Cooper Kupp while he's been out. I think the real question is going to be if Cooper Kupp comes back off that hamstring, how does his role fit into that offense? So he's definitely someone that many leagues no one had on their rosters. He was a good waiver wire choice, and now it's just deciding maybe holding him until Cooper comes back, or seeing what his role is when Kupp does return and seeing if he should stay on your rosters.
Yeah, hopefully that quarterback can stay healthy, spreading that ball around. Ryan, who do you have for this week?
I mean, speaking of healthy quarterbacks, Daniel Jones was my shock of the day. I mean, last week, him and the Giants, they got shut out by the Cowboys. Now, granted, the Cowboys have a great defense, but wasn't expecting too much. Was hoping for the Giants and Danny Dimes to turn around against the Cardinals. And the first half of that game did not look promising, where they were still shut out. I believe it was 6 quarters into the season. They hadn't scored a single point. But Daniel Jones turned it around that second half for the Giants to pull out the 31-20 victory over the Cardinals. He put up 31.7 points. He went 26 for 37 with 321 yards and 2 touchdowns. Had a solid week and definitely surprised me. I wasn't expecting him to play as well as he did after that week 1 performance against the Cowboys.
Yeah, he was even using those legs a little bit with the 59 rushing yards. That's fun to watch him run around.
Love seeing him all over the field.
Yeah, it was a fun week to watch, guys. Week 3 is coming up now, though, so it's moving on to the next week, getting players healthy, getting back on the field. What's your most intriguing game you want to watch this week, Tyler?
Well, for me, Brandon, and people may not agree with this, but it's a Pats-Jets game. I know everyone's thinking, well, the Pats are 0-2, the Jets lost Aaron Rodgers. Why are you tuning into that game? Why is that the most exciting? But it almost seems to me like a must-win game for both teams. On one side, you have the 0-2 Patriots. Their defense looks fantastic in certain parts of the game. Their offense is once again struggling. But the Jets, on the other side, they need Zach Wilson to step up and be that quarterback that they originally drafted him for. There was a lot of hype this offseason for Aaron Rodgers, but now that he is out, Zach Wilson needs to be that guy. And the Jets also have a great defense. So with 2 struggling offenses right now and 2 very good defenses, this looks to be a great in-division rival game. And we'll see if Belichick has what it takes to take down Robert and his squad there. So that's the one I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, I know. We got some Pats faithful on the podcast. Ryan, how do you feel about this one?
I mean, it's been tough watching the Pats this year. Their O-line is just an absolute joke. They're terrible. Mac Jones is getting rushed possible. Tyler, do you really think the Pats O-line this year will be able to stop Quentin Williams and that Jets front line on D?
I mean, if you ask me right now, like you are, I'd say no, but they've surprised us in the past. The good thing is that the one toting the rock is Ramondre Stevenson, who is an absolute animal back there. So if they can even get him a sliver of light, I think he can take advantage of that. But Mac is going to have to get the ball away fast based on how they've been playing for sure.
For sure.
Yeah, all right, guys. That's going to be a fun week this week. So let's keep an eye out on those injury reports, check your fantasy teams, and be ready to go for week 3. Thanks for listening.